For as long as I've been healing, there's been kind of an issue, or not an issue, but a constant debate of why do healers use healing add-ons, and which ones do I want to use? The big debate is Grid versus Healbot. This is a quick analysis of Grid versus Healbot, or Grid and Click together versus Healbot, and why I think that Grid and Click is a better combo for healing than Healbot. I am disregarding Voodoo as a healing option since it is essentially Grid, but not as customizable. So the first thing I'm going to ask, or answer rather, is a lot of people ask, why do I need this kind of add-on? These are mouse over add-ons that allow spells to be bound to mouse clicks. Click is the one used for Grid, and Healbot's got one built in. So basically you can assign a mouse button 4 is your greater heal, or right click is your flash heal, etc. Middle button is renew. Essentially what's going to happen here is you'll find that it prevents what I like to call quick clicking. There's really no reason you need to be clicking twice per global cooldown if you're switching targets to heal. There's just no reason for it. So it'll save you a lot of time and a lot of mistakes when you're clicking that quickly. You tend to make a lot of mistakes on spell usage and which person you meant to cast the heal on. Also, you'll notice targeting on this video, I'm actually never switching target off the boss, which is especially important for Discipline Priest since we have to be constantly damaging the boss with our smite for smite heal. And yeah, it's just an easy way to deal with focusing and stuff like that. Just makes it a little bit easier. The second big point I want to talk about is the ease of setup. First, I'm going to talk about Healbot and Grid, and then I'm going to talk about Healbot versus Click. Healbot and Grid, in terms of setup, Healbot wins this battle. Healbot, you'll notice on my screen, it's actually not much different if you were to download it than what I have right here. Most of the options are just aesthetic options, like how big do you want the icons and stuff like that. And then Grid is very complicated to set up. It's not very user friendly, though. If you can just take the time to have patience, you'll find that it really can display a lot of information, especially once you get Grid add-ons. They're actually add-ons for Grid that I'll actually talk about a little bit later. Mouse button assignments, Healbot versus Click. Click wins this battle, hands down. Click is so easy to set up, especially when you get into fancy macros, like dealing with your Healbot, or not Healbot, dealing with your Holy Word Serenity and Holy Word dispels that modify and stuff like that, or trinkets or cooldowns, bound to other spells, stuff like that. Very easy to use in that respect. Healbot actually doesn't even work with a lot of mouses, including mine, and that's kind of a big problem I've been seeing on a lot of forums. Is it just doesn't work with some for some reason because it's assigned to mouse buttons rather than button. A lot of mouses actually have software like the Naga that actually, when you click it, it actually hits a button on your keyboard. So simple stuff like that you can have issues with. Now, you heard that Grid, it just, before Healbot is easier to display, easier to set up. Look at it. There's actually displaying icons for what buffs I have on these targets. And yeah, Healbot is better than Grid, except for when you throw in the Grid add-ons. For example, Grid Status My Hots and Grid Corner Text. You'll see that on my top right corner I have my Gray Stack and Duration. On my bottom right corner I'm going to have Heal Count and Duration of my Renew. Or rather than Heal Count, I meant to say Hot Count. So I can actually see how many hots are on a given target. If I see that a tank has 7 or 8 hots on him, I'm probably not going to be as keen on smite healing the shit out of him as I would otherwise. That's a big part of healing. Not only are you aware of what you need to do, but you have to be aware of what other healers are doing and how they're impacting the healing on the raid. You have to be able to mesh together. I think Grid really allows that because look at these icons for Healbot. I get a lucky proc. I'm stacking 3 Grace. I got Aegis. I got, of my Glyph of Prayer of Healing. I've got all this shit going out that, instantly after one cast, I have 5 icons on this one unit frame. And I'm like, I can't fucking read that. Especially if you want to be able to monitor other rejuves from druids or stuff like that. So you got to be able to get used to that. Grid, when you download corner text, side text, and the MyHots, it allows, on this corner I want Rejuve, on this corner I want Life Bloom, on this corner I want this, on this corner I want that, on this side I want here, boom, boom, boom. Very neat, very crisp, way cleaner looking than the bulky icons that you get on Healbot, that there's really no way to make them look not pixelated and ugly. The next thing I want to talk about is Grid Status Raid Debuff. This is basically an add-on for Grid that will plug DBM into your Grid. So, for example, and a lot of Healbot people are going to say, oh, well, we can see when we have debuffs on, Ascendant Council, we can see who's waterlogged and blah, 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 blah. When there's a debuff for Healbot, guess what it does? It changes the color of the thing, and it throws up yet... What does it throw up? Oh, another icon. Great, because I really need 45 more icons on my tank healing bar. Grid will actually throw the icon right in the middle, under the name, between the health count, over the absorb amount on my grid. So I can actually see, for phase 1, waterlogged and burning blood. I can see that person, hey, they're waterlogged, but wait, there's another debuff there. They actually have burning blood. And it's just a cleaner, crisper way of displaying that information without just taking up so much of the healing bar space. Grid, I also think, is easier to make aesthetically look pleasing based on the class color system and the healing deficit choice for how it appears itself. I think that's better as well. But when you combine Grid Status MyHots, Grid Side Text, Grid Corner Text, and Grid Status Raid Debuff especially, there is just no way another add-on is going to be able to compete with the amount of information presented and the clean way it presents it to you. Yes, it's going to take a long time to set up. Yes, it might take some time to get used to it. But if you want to be really serious about your healing, you got to be able to have all of this information at your disposal in a very small, real estate, screen efficient way. So I hope this guy helped you guys out a little bit. Maybe I won some Grid fans. Maybe I made some Healbot fans a little bit more pissed. But like I said, I used to use Healbot until I got this mouse, and I'm just a bigger fan of Grid right now. It's just the way it is. I think it's just a better add-on. Hopefully we can get some stubborn people to switch, or more importantly, get some people that aren't using Grid or Healbot to use Grid or Healbot. Maybe for some reason you just can't do Grid. At least do Healbot, but there's really no excuse. So I'll talk to you guys later. Feel free to leave a comment on this video on the Facebook page, or message me in-game if you have some more questions about how to set up Grid in a nice, neat way. I'm going to be looking into putting my specific Grid setup somewhere up for download, so you guys can actually hit all that up and just get my Grid to save some time. So, peace out.